Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and this is Dear Profiler Pat, where you send me your questions, ask for my advice. I give my advice. You take it, take a bit of it, you take none of it. It's all okay. And I always hope that everybody else who's watching the show gets something out of it. I usually try to expand on the question so that it applies to more people in more situations. So, if you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe and check my different playlists for different issues in life that might be applicable to you. All right. This email was pretty simple. Dear Profiler Pat, am I a bad grandparent if I'm not excited to see my grandkids? And I just thought this was a great question. And the letter writer didn't go into the whole issue of what the problem was with seeing the grandkids. But I can come up with a whole bunch of situations where this might apply. And I know what the letter writer is saying right up front. It's like there's some concept that when you become a grandparent, you're just so incredibly excited. Doesn't everybody want to be a grandmother, a grandfather, and get those little kids back in their lives? And, so many people beg their kids, when are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? They do that kind of stuff because I want to be a grandparent. And I do have one grandchild. I have two unmarried sons. They haven't found anybody that they want to be with yet. So will they ever? I don't know. Will they have kids? I don't know. My daughter has one child. So there you go. That's it. I've got one grandkid. Did I want grandkids myself? I always thought it would be nice. How many? I don't know. But I remember thinking a lot of different things when the grandchild was coming along. It's like, what will my relationship be? How excited should I be? And because you're becoming a grandparent, your relationship with that grandchild and how that grandchild is going to be in your life and what kind of grandchild they are and what kind of parents are raising your grandchild, all these things can affect whether you're excited to be around your grandchild or not. And I don't think it's something wrong with a person because it's not maybe always the favorite thing in the world. Now, when the person says, I'm not excited to be around the grandchild or grandkids, it doesn't always mean every circumstance. There are circumstances, maybe it works well. Some circumstances you really aren't enjoying. Some people will definitely just don't want to be around the grandkids. They're like, yeah, I'm done. I moved to the other side of the country so I didn't have to deal with the little critters, because I just didn't really want to get into that domestic lifestyle. I didn't want to babysit. I didn't really want to get into that. I wanted to live differently. And I did my job raising my kids. Some people think that way. Other people want to be right there. They want to be in their grandkids' lives. They want to take care of them when they're babies. They want to go to every one of their sports games, So people are very different about how they feel. And both of those feelings are okay. All right. Your most important thing was being a good parent, because that's your real job. You brought your kids into the world, or you adopted them, or however they came into your family. You are parenting them. That's where you do your job. You chose that, then you do that job well. And hopefully, because they're your kids, you enjoyed being around them. You did like raising them. Not that it was always easy. Not that there weren't sometimes you wanted to rip your hair out. But hopefully, if you did a good job as a parent, you had pleasure raising your children for the most part. And also enjoy them as adults. And if you raise them well, you can hope that that affects how they raise their kids so that you'll actually like your grandchildren. Because if your kids are crappy parents and raise crappy grandchildren, you might not enjoy being around those grandkids because you don't like the way they act. You don't like the way they behave. So sometimes that is just an issue that it, you wish you could enjoy them, but you just don't really like them that much. So is that your fault? Or is that maybe the parenting style has ended up with grandchildren who are just not pleasant to be around? Now, let's say the grandchildren are pretty decent kids, okay? They're not little monsters, they're just decent kids. Now, there's different aspects of what, again, a person would like as far as hanging around their grandkids. Some of those people, as I pointed out, are the ones who I will watch them every day of their lives. I will be part of their lives. I'll do parenting all over again. You can go to work. I'll take care of the kid. They love being around the grandkids. And so in that case, this question is not applying to them at all. Then you have people who do enjoy their grandkids, maybe live nearby, and aspects of being with their grandchildren they like, but other aspects they do not like. Let's say, for example, I live next door to my granddaughter, and there's many aspects I did like about being close by. There were some things that were rough because sometimes, having to babysit a small child, which I did a bit of in the beginning, was exhausting for me. And I didn't realize it was going to be as exhausting as it was. It really was. And that baby was heavy. I'm like, what the heck? And so I loved her and I enjoyed her, but there were aspects I'm like, sometimes I really wish your mother would get home. Take it away. Take that child away. And then, of course, as they get older and they're nearby, they might come to you might go to their house, or they might come to your house. You might watch your toddler grandchildren, or your grade school grandkids. And some of how much you're going to enjoy being with them is how well you connect with them and how well you enjoy doing what they enjoy doing. In other words, if they're doing stuff that you could care less about, and to you it's just, you don't like getting on the floor and playing games with them, it's going to be tougher for you. If you're a person who just loves cooking and baking cookies, and the kids like eating eating your cookies, that may be something you enjoy doing with the grandkids. So you're like, I love it when they come over, and you give them coloring books, and then they help me bake in the kitchen, and you just really enjoy them. And you do. And other people are like, oh my God, they're coming over. What do I do with them? How do I hang out with this toddler for the next 8 hours? The child is exhausting, and I don't like changing the diapers, which you're still wearing, or whatever their issues are. I don't like it when they cry. I don't like the little temper tantrums, or whatever their issues. You just may not enjoy it that much. Doesn't mean you don't love the child. You're just not excited to have them come over and the little toddler to come and spend the day with you. They can get older and be whiny birds. They come over and they're just like, I don't like doing that. And you're like, really? No, that's it. And you get frustrated because you can't amuse them because maybe they're preteens or teens or whatever the heck the age is, and they're not that into you anymore, and you're not so much into them anymore either. You're like, so those are things that happen. Sometimes, let's say the parents are going to take the child someplace, and they say, hey, why don't you come along? And you're happy to be invited. But then on the other hand, when you're with the parents, you don't have any control over the children. So the children are behaving in a way that maybe irritates you, but you don't want to think you should say anything because the parents are there. And so now you sit there and go, just going to shut up and have to listen, watch what's going on. And it just becomes very annoying. Maybe you don't enjoy that. So you're like, next time they invite me, I think I'll find something else to do. So there can be just different places that work and different other places that don't. If I think back to when my parents, would say, why don't we come? Well, we'd like to come and see you. Sometimes I'm pretty sure my mother was like, oh my God, she's bringing 3 kids, And of course you think, they're your grandchildren. You just adore being with them all the time. And she's probably like, oh my God, how long are they going to stay? Now I've got to make sure they don't touch things and do things. I don't know what they're loud little kids. I don't know. Maybe she really didn't want them to come over. And then we knocked on the door and she's like, oh, it's so nice to see you. And she's also lovely, lovely. But maybe she wasn't thrilled, and she wasn't necessarily wrong to be that way, because maybe it wasn't that easy as we think it is when we're the parents and not the grandparents, because we're happy to toss them off on somebody else for a while or distract your kids. So that can be a problem. And then there's the issue of if you're flying to go see your grandchildren someplace else, they've moved away, or you've moved away, and now don't you want to come and see your grandkids? Yeah, I want to go. I can't wait to go through 8 hours of airline travel these days, and then I have to rent a car and drive over there. And then we get there, and then the kids are running around, and they're like, oh, hi, Grandma, Grandpa. We haven't seen them in 6 months. And we're like, yeah, there they are. We hardly know these kids. And and then you try to bring them some presents. You don't even know what they want. And then you have to sit there and pretend you're really enjoying watching them play. And, and they think, my God, this was a long trip to do this. And then you go away and it's like, you're leaving town or you're arriving home. You're like, oh, thank God, that's over. And then they call them and say, oh, when are you coming back? And you're like, oh, no. And yet you feel bad because they are your grandkids. But especially if you're not around them a lot, it's always much more difficult because you don't have that ongoing relationship where you know them really well and they know you really well. So it's a little bit awkward. And so it's not that easy when your grandkids suddenly show up to stay at your house for 4 days. You haven't seen them in a year, and then you got to figure out what to do with them all day long. It's just, that can be really exhausting and not fun. So again, a certain different depends on who you are. Some people would fly to see their grandkids every other month and be happy to stay in the guest room and they just eat up being with those children, and they can't wait for the children to come and stay with them for the whole summer. Some people are like that. Not me, but some people are like that. Now, I do enjoy my granddaughter. She's now turned 11. She's getting to be a little teenage, so. But I took her downtown and we spent a overnight down. We went to the Kennedy Center. We saw a show. I took her out for sushi. She's an expensive child. And we stayed at this really cool place called Hotel Hive. And it was this cool, like hotel small rooms, but we had these cool bunk beds in there. And then there was a TV in each one of the bunk beds. It was really the cutest place ever. And she loved it because she just climbed up into her bunk bed on the top. And she was just having so much fun in that room because it was so neat. And, so we had a good time. So that worked out well, but sometimes I have to really think of how can I spend the day with her and not lose my mind? And some things will work out easily. I love to go watch her soccer games because that's a fun thing for me to do. And, sometimes I pick her up from school. We go get sushi again. She's expensive. And then take her to Girl Scouts. So that works out well. So I enjoy being around her, but sometimes I'm not as excited as I wish I was. I was like, oh, God. But got to deal with it. Child, and sometimes she annoys me because she's a child. My own kids annoyed me too, but now it's not my child, so why do I want to be annoyed? So you could be in any one of these situations. So if you are, don't be so hard on yourself. If you love being around grandkids all the time, your kids are going to be thrilled about you. If you're a person, not so much. Hey, your kids hopefully will just respect that. You love the kids, but maybe you want to pick only certain times to do whatever you want to do with them. So anyway, those are my thoughts. How are your times with the grandkids? Put it in the link below and let me know. And again, do subscribe to the channel. Bye.